is Disney put in a box here? Do they have to offer more? And how much room does Rupert Murdoch have to make this decision?
I think the notion of a free market system at work is good and scaling up on a global basis. So unlike some of the deals you heard before, even though Sony bought the Columbia Pictures, the world has changed. And so let's look at the global marketplace. How can Disney get bigger globally? How does Comcast break out of geographical concentration? Based on the $35, and we've been assumed that would be a number in cash, I mean, the deal will take about a year and a half to close. They'll only be trading at about 3.9 times debt to EBITDA. And, Comcast is not has room for another increase in its bid. So now Iger says to himself, look, do I have to go to a 0.31 share of Disney stock? Right now he's giving you 0.275. He's got 1.5 billion shares out. Rupert would prefer taking a tax-deferred deal. So would my taxable clients. I own a lot of Fox, and I own it because I owned Herb Siegel's company, and I got stock, and I kept it. So I've got a dollar basis, unlike real estate gets a 1031 section. So I think they got Disney will bump to maybe they could put in a portion in cash, 20% standard election, no prorate, and give you the stock. So that would work. At the moment, it's kind of neutral because you're paying, if you live in the state of California, you're paying a 35% capital gain tax on your gains. So that you got to run the numbers. Either way, I think this. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mario, the one thing I was going to say is, in many ways, Brian Roberts either wins or plays spoiler and wins that way. I mean, the real issue is, in many ways, you can't. If you're in the Comcast position in this case, it's hard to lose unless you believe they overpay. And then the last
Andrew,
scenario,
is that true? And we've heard Comcast say the international assets here are what they love about this, right? It's Sky, it's Star India. There's nowhere else to go for that kind of international growth exposure, is there?
There's not many options. And so by default, either you win the asset or you force your biggest competitor to pay more for the asset. That would look like a win on both sides, unless you win the asset and you think you're overpaying. And there are shareholders who I imagine may have that view. But the last option, and we haven't talked about it yet, is whether at some point, and we've talked about this a bit on Squawk Box, whether at some point Bob Iger finds a way to communicate with Brian Roberts and they decide to ultimately split this company in half, and whether that's something that would be palatable both on a legal basis and to the Murdochs, given the fact that actually, if you really think about the assets, there are certain assets that Disney really wants, and there are certain assets that Comcast really wants. The Sky business,
that we
the Hulu
agree
business.
with. Look, I mean, on the other side, you already have 40%, Andrew, of Sky owned by Fox/Disney, and therefore they don't have to pay that extra juice on cash.
So, I mean, the question I would ask you, Mario, as a shareholder is, would you be unhappy if they made that phone call to each other and somehow got together? The bad news for some 21st Century Fox shareholders is they might not get the bidding war they're expecting. Yeah,
well, on the other side of the coin, I wouldn't rule out a small possibility that one of the global behemoths that Judge Leon talked about may come in over the top. I can't rule that out either. As a merger arbitrageur, you always assign probabilities of 1% to something like that. And, so that's the way I would look at it, Andrew. But I think you got most of the moving parts. I just would like to also point out that this sets off a chain reaction so that everybody in an industry, it's like the old buffalo hunters. The herd is diminishing, and if you want to go out hunting for buffaloes, you're going to pay up for the last one.
Mike?
Yeah, definitely scarcity value is going up with all this. I do think as these guys have been saying, it comes down to what would it take to get this done for Murdoch, with a perception that Disney has a slight advantage because of all those reasons we said. It's a kind of a succession story. It seems like a preferred home. So, what does that mean for the numbers? I think the market, it's interesting. It's nudged up Fox, 21st Century Fox after hours, even after being up more than 7% today. Right. So maybe the deal came in slightly richer than was anticipated.
Yeah, but if I'm paying $44 for Fox today, I'm getting what I perceive to be $15 of economic value of the SpinCo. So secondly, the vote is on July 10th.
Right, that's what's left over, yeah.
Yeah, on NewCo, that both companies, both Comcast and Disney, are saying they're being spun off. And with the new tax rate, the amount of debt that company is going to undertake is less. So, so let's not ignore that $15. So that I have a private market value. $9 probably is where it trades in the public market. So that's why I'm willing to buy Fox even today at 44 as an arbitrageur.
Mario, one final question. Because Bob Iger, I believe, is on the board of Apple, is there a role that Apple could play here, as it also, we know, is looking to bulk up on media assets?
I just one last comment. Apple, Amazon, they want to do for Prime, Netflix. I only remember because I've been around watching movies. Great movie companies with great green light capabilities have created things like Waterworld, Ishtar, and I guess Sahara. These are the huge bombs out there. Wait till Netflix can't constantly make money. So we'll see. Who else wants to get a content company? There was 6 or 7 movie studios 50 years ago, and if you exclude some in Bangalore, there's only 6 or 7 today. So it'd be interesting to get scale of library and content creation. Admittedly, that scripted shows are significantly increasing in popularity.
Yeah,
so
I'm
Apple,
still thinking about Waterworld. Yeah, and
yeah,
Hulu,
come
let's
on,
not forget
Ishtar.
that Hulu
Think
was
about
in it.
Ishtar. Think about Sahara. How about even Disney with all its success? Think about John Carter.
You're right. That's right. That was more of a flop for them. And Hulu, of course, is in the middle of all this as well. And I think each the companies all have it pieced, portioned up right now. But that's one of the most significant streaming assets in the media landscape right now. All right. So Mario, your best guess as to how this plays out right now?
I basically am applauding the action on behalf of my shareholders who have clients who are significant holders of Fox, and they're rooting that the auction, which just started, is going to continue.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.